Hey, everybody. Welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm Kristi Brower, here with my co host, sister, and
Mhm.
partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going super good. Yeah. We got a skiff of snow this weekend, so boo to that. But other than
Yeah, and
that,
it also got
super
down to
good.
like 0 degrees.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in
Uncool.
Idaho. We know it's coming. This is a little early for that cold.
Well, I mean, if you're not trick or treating in snowsuits, have you really trick or treated at all?
Well, agreed. How many years as kids did you not even know what anyone was for Halloween because they were all wearing coats over their
Hmm.
costumes?
Yeah.
That is
When
a
my kids were
whole
little, I was
different.
always looking for those big, like, stuffed animal looking costumes that basically, could be worn over top of coats and stuff.
Yeah,
Remember, we had
yeah,
like a big elephant and I think a big gorilla or something like that. So the kids wore multiple years because it was, the only costumey thing you could really wear.
right. You kind of basically had to wear a sweatsuit underneath to stay warm up. So
It's so
I
crazy.
know it seems like we're
Yeah,
gonna have that kind of Halloween because yeah, this weekend has been dang cold.
it's happening. But ooh, I'm so excited for Halloween.
I know, me too.
We're going to watch the new Witches.
Yes,
So if you guys remember the old Witches or the book by Roald Dahl, it
yes.
is scary as hell. At
Oh,
least it was when
when
we
you
were
were a
kids.
kid, for sure.
Yeah. So we've all gone back, our sister Kara and Kristi and I, and watched the original Witches. And now
Well,
on
I had to
Halloween,
show it to Rhonda because she'd never seen it.
neither had Scott.
She'd never even heard of it. What the
Yeah,
hell?
I know.
Where were they?
I know. My kids hadn't either, which made me feel like, well, actually, my son had, but my daughters hadn't. And that made me feel like a bit of a terrible parent. But,
We were big Roald Dahl fans as kids. We read his books,
well,
we
our
loved
mom
his
was.
movies, and our mom was too, and that's probably
Yeah.
why we knew about it. I was like,
Hmm.
"Why would Rhonda have not known this movie?" But that's probably why.
Probably why. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to get together on Halloween, and that's what we're doing. We
It's gonna
never
be
get
fun.
trick or treaters at my house. And I don't know about you
Mm.
guys, if your communities are even doing trick or treating this year.
It's a
Mine
mixed
is.
bag.
Yeah.
We don't
I know.
get
I mean,
trick-or-treaters. We live in a neighborhood of a lot of old people, so we don't get them really.
yeah, we don't. We hardly ever get a trick or treater anyway. So I don't really care about being home for it. So, we
No, we're
usually
just
leave
gonna
a
do
little
something
bowl of
fun.
candy on the steps just in case. But honestly, it usually remains untouched. So what do I care? We're going to go have fun instead.
Right, right, we are. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, no.
Hmm.
Oh, no. Katie's always mad at me if I yawn because, then she yawns, and then I yawn, and then she yawns, and
Hmm.
then we just can't stop.
It's super
So I'm done.
contagious.
That was
Yeah.
my only yawn.
Yeah. Maintain. Get it
Okay.
together. Okay.
So I'm gonna present a case to Katie today, and
Yeah.
she's gonna give us a cold read. Now, this case has a twist because this is a solved case,
Oh,
but there's a mystery
okay.
after the solved part. Okay.
All right.
So
I'm here
I'm just
for
gonna
it.
tell you the story. This is about the murder of Mary Ellen Deeter.
Okay.
Mary Ellen Deeter died on November 14th, 1965. She was 14, and this happened in Mansfield, Ohio. She was one of 7 children, and one day she and her sister went to the laundromat to do laundry because the dryer was broken, and so the mom sent them. They were the 2 oldest kids, and so she sent them to go to the laundromat. Well, when they get to the laundromat, that laundromat was out of quarters, and so Mary decided that she was gonna walk to a different laundromat and left her sister Brenda at the laundromat that was missing the quarters, which was where their clothes were. Just, she said, I'm gonna go 5 minutes to a different laundromat, get our quarters, come back, I'll be right back.
Hmm.
They were really close to their grandma's house at this laundromat, so they, kind of felt comfortable, and their mom felt comfortable sending them to this place because they weren't very far from their grandma, and they'd taken a cab to get there.
Okay.
Well, Mary was gone for literally hours and didn't come back. So Brenda goes to her grandma's house and tells her what happened.
Okay.
And, so grandma says, just stay here. I'm going to go look for Mary. So she goes walking around, and that's when she comes across the police. And the police have already found Mary's body,
Oh,
beat up and bloody, and she identified her for the police, which just was awful,
yeah.
and they figured that she had been about 2 hours before this. So the sister just waited, not knowing what to do, not that she
Mhm.
could have done anything about it. She had been shot twice in the stomach, and her head had been bashed in with a brick.
Holy hell.
Yeah, yeah, it was a horrible murder, absolutely horrendous murder. She still had the coins from the laundromat in her hand. Um,
Oh.
Obviously, it was a homicide. Now, they caught the man who did this quite quickly. So they went around. She was shot with a 38 caliber bullet, and they went around to nearby stores who sold ammunition, looking through their records, and they found someone who had just bought 38 caliber bullets, and that happened to be Lester Edward Eubanks.
Okay.
And Lester Eubanks turned out had a history of sexual offenses already and was currently out on bond for an unrelated case.
Sexual offenses.
Yeah, sexual
Okay.
offenses. Okay, so the weird thing about Lester is that he just completely coughed up the whole story. The police started questioning him, and he immediately said that yes, he saw her. She was walking past him. He grabbed her, pulled her behind a house, tried to sexually assault her, and she started screaming bloody murder and putting up a fight. And so instead of raping her, he shot her in the stomach twice and just left her laying there.
And this all happened in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah, this all happened in the middle of the afternoon.
Okay.
Now, he's awful. Okay. So he went home and he got ready because he was going out dancing that night. Right? Like, oh, okay. God, you're a
Okay.
gross pig. Um, on his way back, after he'd gotten dressed up for dancing, he comes by and he finds that Mary is still alive, writhing in agony on the ground. So he picks up a brick and bashes her skull in and finishes the job.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. And then he just walked away, go dancing.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So he's a super bad dude, right? So he went to trial and he didn't really go to trial. He pled guilty. He confessed, pled guilty to the whole thing. He had no remorse. He told the story kind of like he was rather proud of what he'd done, which was just so freaking bizarre. And he was given the death penalty for her death. So this was a weird time in history when it comes to the death penalty. His execution kept getting pushed back. This was before, you could do a million appeals that would hold your case up for 20 years. So 3 times his execution got pushed back because there was this legislation going through that was going to ban the death penalty. And that did happen in 1972. And so his sentence was changed to a life in prison without parole in 1972. And so he was not executed because because the law changed. And so
Okay.
that kept him alive. So then this just kills me. This kills me because when you hear the story of what he did to poor little Mary Ellen Deener, sorry.
Yeah. Deener.
How can you think that this dude shouldn't just stay like in solitary for the rest of his life, right?
Right.
Okay, but on December 7th in 1973, Lester Eubanks was taken to a shopping center in Columbus, Ohio by prison officials, and he was allowed to shop unescorted as a reward for good behavior. Yeah.
What?
He was alone shopping without any prison personnel, with money in his pocket. And guess what happened? He didn't
Oh
freaking
Jesus.
show up for his ride back to the prison. He escaped.
Oh,
He
what?
is still out on the lam in 2020. Okay. This was in 1973.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. So Here's what I wanna here's what I the US Marshals still have him on their 10 most wanted list. They still believe that he is alive. He would be 75 years old now. The US Marshals have come out and said they think they might be closer to catching him. I would like your read on, do you agree that he is still alive? And if he is still alive, where is he or where has he been all this time?
Mhm. He is not still alive. He
Okay.
did stay in the United States, though.
Wow.
Um, my first thought was, "Oh, did he flee the country?" No, he didn't. He didn't. He managed to stay in the States. I feel like he went to a very rural community where he worked for farmers and managed to
Mhm.
just lay low and just kinda took up a life there. I think that he was somewhere in the central Midwest and just managed to blend into a rural community where he lived and worked enough that he had a little money to be able to have his own little place, and very nondescript, quiet, kept to himself kinda guy. I do think that he has died at this point. I think they're wrong about that. I don't think that he's alive, but I do feel like that's what happened. I
Okay.
feel like he was absolutely never going back. I don't think that he committed any more crimes.
That was my
I
next question. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't. I feel like he was determined to not go back to prison, and so he was going to do absolutely nothing to call attention to himself. I feel like in the town that he lived, he didn't go he went by a different name. I actually feel like he went by the name I wanna get this straight because I think that was his yeah, I think he went by the name Edward. He just went by his middle name. Uh, Different last name, though. And how did he do this without ID? I don't know, except for that it was a very small town
Well, and it
where
was also 1973 when he disappeared,
Mhm,
you
yeah,
know? I
yeah,
mean, you wouldn't get away with that now, not with the internet and not with
mm,
not having ID and, cell phones
mhm.
and all that stuff.
The
But we
word
have to
Billings
remember that this stuff when it happened that long ago.
mhm. The word Billings keeps coming up for me, so that I thought, "Oh, did he actually go this far? Did he go to Billings, Montana?" He didn't. I think he went by the name Billings,
Okay. Edward Billings.
Edward Billings.
Okay.
Yeah, or something like that. B. Billings is what comes up. Anyway, I think he ended up somewhere in Ohio, and
Okay.
his name yes, Edward Billings.
Which is
Uh,
actually where he started out, was Ohio.
yeah. Well, he ended up, I think, just really rural in a, like, little tiny old farming community that, you know, people weren't suspicious, but again, I think he really kept his head down. He didn't, he didn't commit any more crimes, but I also don't feel like that he took on a relationship or really made friends, or he just really kept to himself and worked, and that was it.
Wow.
But this was his entire objective was to stay out of prison at this point, and that's what he did. But I do believe he's died. I don't think he's still here.
Wow.
Wow, what a case.
It's a horrifying story, and even now, her family, who, at least they got vindication, he was given the death penalty, then the death penalty gets taken, then he runs from prison and has been gone
Like
all this freaking time.
this makes
There's just
absolutely
no
no sense
justice
to
here.
me. Well, no, and wait a minute. I mean, we let prisoners who've been convicted of murdering little children and who were on the death penalty go shop in shopping malls by themselves? I mean, what the
Right?
hell? How can
You know,
that be ever a thing that is done?
I gotta say that my sense of this dude is that he was a tremendously manipulative,
Oh, yeah.
very intelligent sociopath. And
Yeah.
he knew how to play the game. He knew, because I don't think that that was a common, even in 1973, I don't think that was common. I mean, it would never happen now.
Mhm.
But even back then, I think that was an uncommon thing.
Mhm.
But my sense of him is that he had completely sucked them in and
Yeah.
you know, had them completely convinced that he was a changed man and he was wonderful and he was, such a model prisoner, and he really deserved to have something good happen to him, that kind of stuff, that he was
But
really good at playing
what does
the
someone who
prison
lives
official.
in prison and is purportedly gonna be in prison for the rest of their lives need in a shopping mall?
Christmas presents. He was shopping for Christmas presents. For who? I do not know, because again, in prison, if this was for, family members or if this was for other prisoners, I don't know. But it's such a strange story, but I do really feel like his ability to manipulate other people was so good, and it's why he wasn't ever caught. It's why he
Yeah,
could stay in Ohio
yeah.
and 100% suck people in and convince them of who he was,
Mhm,
and no one questioned him in all of this time.
mhm.
I mean, it's more than 50 years now. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It's just hard to even imagine that even happening. It's so disgusting. I don't
It
think
really
that would
is. It's
happen now, but
Yeah.
wow.
It's crazy to think that it would happen, but you look back on it and I just feel like he had some serious skills, and some skills they were not expecting of him
Uh-huh.
when it came to manipulation, but he was such a sociopath. He had absolutely no regret. He just very blasé about his confession,
Yeah.
going back and hitting her with the brick to kill her because she didn't die of the gunshots, like just
Right.
all of that was just so gross and just
Yeah.
ugh.
Cruel, and yeah, I know. I just
And it
am
was
so heartsick
also
for
he
her
just said it
family.
all like it was just nothing.
Right. I mean, can
So
you imagine
apparently,
poor Brenda, you know, what a
right?
life Brenda has had knowing that happened to her sister and oh, geez. Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently he was participating in an honors program within the prison, and he had earned this opportunity. He was a talented painter
Mm,
and was known for painting and things like that, doing artwork while he was in prison.
mhm.
When he took his little trip out of the prison, he was in plain clothes. They took him out with no identifying anything on him to indicate that he was, in fact, a prisoner. I
I
mean, it's
mean,
just
it's as if this was set up to allow him to escape. I mean, it's hard to see it any other way. Just
right.
insane.
I I don't know though. I don't get that hit. I think that was his intention,
Yeah.
but my impression is that he completely sucked in prison staff,
Mhm.
and they just had him completely wrong as far as who he was, and
Oh, yeah.
he'd found Jesus, and he was the reformed most model prisoner ever, blah 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 blah, and
Mhm.
that's why he earned this.
And
I
he
think
was
they
their
were
friend. He
Yeah,
became their friend, their pal, their yeah.
I think they were shocked as hell when this happened. I don't think that the prison officials expected this at all,
I'm gonna
and then to
hope
never
that
find him, in all this
right.
time, to never be able to find him is just bizarre.
I'm gonna hope that the prison officials that put this brilliant plan together had some serious consequences, and that this
I
program immediately took, an about face because
Right.
what in the actual hell
Yeah,
could
I
that
I
even be
don't
about?
um I couldn't find anything about what the outcome was, but I do really hope that at least they were fired for this, or, somebody wised up a little bit.
Well, yeah, but can you imagine her family having to learn that this
Right.
dude is on the lam?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, first he's sentenced to death, and then that gets overturned, and, depending on that family's beliefs, that could have been extremely shocking and devastating in all in itself.
Right.
And then for him to just be basically handed a hall pass to leave the prison?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, to leave the prison, shop on his own with a designated time to meet back for his ride back to prison.
Was he the only one, or were there other prisoners that
It
were
was
out
just him.
shopping that day? Just him?
As far as I can tell, it was just him. Yeah. They played a dangerous game with him and lost. I mean, he was a pro.
Yeah, and a completely unnecessary one.
Yeah, I
It's not like
mean,
this was some
dumb.
kind of a sting or some kind of an operation that he was out of jail for because, you know, he could help them in some way. I mean, I'm so dumbfounded that that even happened.
I know. Me too. Me too. I'm
And
sure
it's
the
not
"Let
like he
prisoners
was
go
a
Christmas
petty
shopping" rule
criminal.
quickly disappeared after this incident.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna hope so.
It's insane story. And it's
It
just very
truly is.
sad for Mary's family that there was never
Yeah,
any real, I mean, there was at least resolution that they know who killed her, but that he got away like this.
yeah.
And yeah, for Brenda and for grandma who had to identify him. I mean, what a horrible way for this to end.
I could oh, my turn, sorry. I can only imagine how much this must have rocked their community, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
to have that happen. I mean, can you imagine how unsafe the women and girls and children and families in this community felt?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they perp in no time, but still, I mean, I can only imagine how it must have shaken up their community.
I'm sure that it did hugely, hugely. Well, and then to know he was out there, and it wasn't that long. I mean, this happened
Right,
in 1965, and he escaped in 1973. I say escaped as
right,
though it was hard. He wandered away in
right,
1973,
yeah,
so it wasn't that
right,
long. I mean, you'd think that her family may have been afraid that he might come back and try to hurt someone else in their family, you know?
right. I would imagine that poor Brenda lived in fear for a
Yeah,
really long time
I would imagine so too.
after
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
such a
Just
strange case.
because she was so close to it, you know?
Yeah.
That could have been her.
Well, and I'm
It's
sure, she was just young and
yeah.
didn't know what to do,
Well, sure.
like, "She hasn't come back, what am I supposed to do?" You know?
Honestly, thank God she lived through this. I mean, she could have just as easily been with her sister and they could have both been snagged.
Right,
Or on her way to grandma's house, he could have grabbed her too if he had any idea there was another, sister hanging out waiting somewhere. I mean,
right.
lots of things could have happened to her.
They could have, I can
And
imagine
yet
that
she
that was
managed
very,
to be
very
safe
frightening
and
for
go to
her.
grandma's. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
crazy.
I can't even believe that.
Yeah, it's a horrifying story, and it's a horrifying end. Because yeah, the
Yeah.
US Marshals have come out with, statements here and there, that they're
Yeah.
this close to catching him, and they believe he's alive, but I don't know, that stuff sounds really canned to me.
Right.
Like,
Those are just
that's just
words.
the stuff that they say
Yeah.
about anybody that's on their most wanted
Mhm.
list, you know?
Well, yeah,
And
I doubt they're, all that akin to wanting to say that, they have no frickin' idea and they don't believe they'll ever solve this one. They're
right, and
never
I mean,
gonna
the
say
longer
that.
it gets, I mean, they've released some age press photos and stuff like that, but this much time, I mean, yeah,
Well, and obviously this guy's no idiot, you
no,
know?
no.
I'm sure that before he landed anywhere, he had a great cover story, he had changed his appearance. I mean, for Christ's sake, he had money in his pocket.
Right, yeah. He just walked away a free man with cash in his pocket and the world at his feet, really. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. They thought they'd had some leads on him over the years, but, I mean, obviously they didn't really because
No, he would have been in custody had they
yeah.
yeah. I'm amazed that he didn't leave the country.
Mhm.
That was my first thought is, well, surely he left the country, and then feeling like, no, what I'm hearing is he didn't, and that, he didn't really go that far,
Yeah.
not as far as you'd think that he would, but he went far enough that he was felt like he was safe, and
Well, in
I don't feel like
1973, I
he
mean,
ever contacted any of his family. I don't feel like he ever reached out to anybody who
no,
ever knew him. I feel like
just
he just
walked away.
completely started over. Yep.
Yeah, but, in 1973, they
Mhm.
didn't have a lot of resources to find you. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's
now
no
they can
yeah.
pinpoint you, from a satellite on a map within 10 feet, we know
Right.
that because of the Daybell Vallow case, but that just
Yeah.
wasn't the case then, and you go to another community where no one knows you and no one knows your family and you're
Mhm.
using a different name, how are they gonna find you? You know?
Right, right. They're not,
They're not.
they're not.
It always does my heart good when we do these cases and I'm, like, horrified to know that our technology has advanced to a point that this kind of stuff is much less likely to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
unfortunately, the murder of Mary, not less likely to happen. I mean,
No.
this stuff still very much does happen,
Mhm.
but at least he wouldn't get away and just live out the
Right.
rest of his life with no consequences, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard with this guy, how brazen that's what he did in the first place, you know,
Yeah.
assaulted and murdered this child in broad daylight out in the open.
It's such a
And
sociopath thing to do. I mean, he totally
right.
believes that,
Mhm.
you know, he's the best, he's the smartest, he's gonna get away with whatever, no one's gonna ever
Mhm.
figure it out that it's him.
Mhm.
Clearly wasn't the case because they caught him very quickly.
Mhm.
But that arrogance probably got him a long
Mhm.
ways in his
Yeah.
escape, and got him a long ways in orchestrating his escape.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure that he knew these idiots aren't gonna figure out that what I'm trying to do is get out, you know?
Yep. Yep. Totally.
Turns out you can't take child murderers at their word.
Just send him
Weird.
to the mall, the Christmas shop. Can you imagine how many children were probably in the mall that day?
Yeah,
And families and little girls?
yeah, I know. It's unfreaking believable.
Mhm. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
I wish that they would have caught him, but there's a part of me that's glad that he is gone. And, hopefully he didn't ever hurt anybody else again, and it may be that he just learned his lesson that he couldn't, or he may have, done things that were much more insidious.
I'm sure that's true. I mean, I'm sure to be able to just sustain himself and, you know, start over, I'm sure he pulled some bullshit because that's what he did. He was just more careful because he
Yeah,
really, really had no intention of going back to prison this time.
for sure.
Yeah.
And he learned his lesson that you can't just murder someone in broad daylight and not get caught.
Yeah. Weird.
I know, even in 1973, or I
Hmm.
mean 1965.
Well, speaking of murdering someone in broad daylight and not getting caught or getting caught, there is a hearing on Thursday morning in the
Mhm.
Daybell case. And we are going to be here. We're going to be talking about it. We'll be covering it.
Yes. Yes, we will.
And it's
It
the
should be
hearing to
interesting.
discuss the joinder, whether or not we're joining this case.
Yeah,
And Chad's lawyer filed a brief this week, yesterday, I think, or Friday. It must have been Friday.
Friday, yeah.
Uh, yeah, that discusses another case in Idaho that was joined, and then one of the convictions got thrown out by the Supreme Court because they said it was done improperly. So it
But
looks
really, it
like
wasn't
that
joined with another person, it was just 2 different
it's just
charges that
two
were
two
joined.
different charges. Yeah, I
I'm
know.
struggling to understand how
How
that
this
case is
relates.
actually connected to this case.
Mhm. It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm super curious. I'm really, I'm very interested because in reading the stuff about this case, yeah, they joined n 2 different charges, they combined them together in one trial.
Mhm.
But we're talking about combining 2 different people
Yeah,
into one trial. I mean, his charges are already joined because it's,
right.
you know, conspiracy to this act and charged with committing it. I mean, are
Mm,
intrinsically linked. I don't really
yeah,
make a connection at all, and I'm just wondering if
yeah.
this is just grasping on Pryor's part.
I don't know. It's
I
gonna
don't
be
know.
really interesting to see what he says, what the argument is, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'll be interesting to see what comes out of everybody else too.
Mhm.
So
It is. It's gonna be very interesting. I think we're gonna learn some things we didn't know. But yeah, I wanna hear what the
mhm,
judge has to say about this precedent that Pryor is using because
mhm.
I can't
Well,
make
it's
the
like
connection.
no, I'd like to see what the prosecutor says about it too.
Right.
Is this another case of the prosecutor just, giggling all the way home going, "What the hell
His
are these
eyeballs
guys even
almost rolling
doing?"
right out of his head during the hearing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know, and I'm not an attorney, I've studied a lot of legal stuff and criminal stuff over the years as a social worker and,
Mhm.
but I don't understand this, and so maybe we're just gonna
Yeah,
learn about it in the hearing, or maybe the judge will be like, what the hell are you talking about here, Mr. Pryor? How is this
yeah,
connected?" So, I don't know, I'm super curious about it.
yeah, me too. It's an interesting that's what everything I've read is people puzzling over it going, "Hmm, okay then. Well,
Yeah, what does this mean?
what does this even mean? We'll find out."
Yeah.
Yeah.
because in this case, you can't just trust that this is a good argument. You really can't trust that because we haven't seen a lot of those. So
No, we have not. Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, Thursday's gonna be pretty fascinating. So, I'm not sure if we'll live stream, the or court or not. I really don't know how long it's gonna last. I suspect it could take all day.
I think so too. I think
So,
we should just do a live stream at the end and
yeah,
say,
bring
"Okay,
some
this is what
updates.
happened. This is what it
Mhm.
means."
Yep, I think that's smart because, gosh, I'm guessing it'll be a marathon.
Yeah, I think it probably will be, and, yeah, so I think it'll be better just to give our analysis at the end, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, thank you for, helping us figure out what happened with poor little Mary Ellen Deaner's murderer, and, I don't know, I mean, I just hope Lester Eubanks has gone to whatever terrible place he could go to after he's
Mhm.
crossed over?
Agreed.
And I just hope that there is at least some peace in her family. I mean, it's been so long that I'm sure that her parents may be dead, I don't know, her grandma probably is, and
Yeah,
I don't know, but anyway, thank you
yeah.
for your insights on that, I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for the case. And we'll be back on Wednesday night for
Yeah.
our case updates. And we try to bring at least one solved case to you too. That's good news. We
Yep,
found a few already this week.
we
So,
have, yeah, and we like to share good news is nice.
and we'll be back Thursday night for our for the psychic hour, and we're doing mediumship this week.
Yes, we
So
are
that'll be
in
an
honor of
interesting,
Halloween.
yeah, night as well.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. Of course, you can find us on Facebook, we're True Crime Paranormal over there. You can find us on Patreon if you like to support what we do. That's a great way to do it. Another great way to do it is to subscribe, whatever medium you are listening to us.
Hmm.
Like, comment, share, get us
Hmm.
out there in the world. We have people all the time tell us, "You guys should be bigger, you should have more subscribers." Well, you know what, guys? You can help us out with that, so be sure that you're,
Definitely.
sharing us with your friends who love, true crime and paranormal
Yeah.
stuff and psychic stuff and all that stuff.
Definitely. Well, but also we actually surpassed
We did.
20,000 downloads.
Yeah,
Yeah, over the weekend on our podcast. So 20,000 downloads. We're super excited. And
yeah,
because of that, we have a giveaway going on. We're giving away two of our True Crime Paranormal t-shirts.
yep,
And so if you go over to our Facebook page, True Crime Paranormal,
yeah,
you'll find that post at the top of the page all about it. All you have to do is comment on that or like it for us to enter you into our drawing. We're going to give away two t-shirts to celebrate.
yep,
And then as we're getting closer and closer to 3,000 subscribers here on YouTube.
yep.
And once we get to 3,000 subscribers, we will give away 3 t-shirts for 3,000 subscribers.
Yes, we will.
But also, our t-shirts just dropped. And if you guys are interested in a
Yeah.
true crime paranormal t-shirt, they're on Etsy under true crime. No, that's not right. They're on Etsy under Joyful Goddess Designs. That's our store over there.
Yeah.
So if you want a t-shirt, yeah, and come over and check them out and see what you think. Lots of good things happening.
Definitely do. Yeah, we are excited. We are growing and we appreciate all of you because you are why we are growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Very
so
good.
we are True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Thanks for being here with us today, you guys. Take
Thanks,
care.
guys.